Greeting everyone. Today, my group just consists of Ms. Brommel, Sir Arjun, Miss Smith, and Sir Wright. Will be presenting case study 2, which titled Nurturing Multiple Intelligence in an Institution Focused on Grove Technical Institute. So today our goal is to show a clear understanding of the case, to identify key challenges, and to propose practical strategies, especially for integrated multiple intelligence into teaching, training faculties, and improving student engagement. So this presentation is structured for about 12 to 15 minutes, and we will have a short conclusion. If you have any questions, you let us know. Now, multiple intelligence is a teaching lens that reminds us that students can be strong in different kinds of thinking and performance. Here is whereby we see the strength of our students by how they respond to questions or any evaluation means. In technical institutions, we already value hands-on experience, design thinking, teamwork, and troubleshooting. So, multiple intelligence, which is known to be MI, help us to plan deliberate so that instruction and assessment do not only reward one narrow type of ability. So we have, because of MA, which is multiple intelligence, it allows us to award a large variety of ability, maybe in different types. Then we have the practical takeaway is that we pluralize teaching, same learning goal, but multiple pathways to learn and multiple ways to demonstrate mastery. My other colleague will continue this presentation.
Continuing from my colleague, I will be looking at case overview, Grove Technical Institute. The Institute one teaching to match different learning strategies. So Grove Technical Institute is a commitment to recognizing diverse learning strength in not just a philosophical stance, but it is a practical teaching strategy that directly improves student engagement, multiple intelligence theory, which help faculty understand that students process information in different ways, some through language, some through logic, some visually, some physically, and some through self-reflection. Background. So the case is a bit clear here. Grove Technical Institute is respected, but it recognizes that its student body is diverse in how they learn. The institute is driven by the idea of multiple intelligence and want to adjust teaching methods so that learning is not one size fits all. So here are the objectives that are stated. So the objectives are three: integrated MI into teaching, train faculty, and improve engagement by matching instruction to learners. So they integrate MI theory into teaching methods.
Thank you. I am Ms. Bromel and I will take you through part of the presentation. So our job is to translate those objectives into a practical plan that works in a technical institute context. Why this matter in a technical institute? Well, technical training requires both theory and performance. So performance is more like the practical or the hands-on activities. Students should succeed through multiple strengths, design, practical skills, teamwork, and of course, communication. Alright, so here in this slide, I will be identifying the challenges. We know that the case states three challenges. The first one is the traditional teaching method. The second challenge is limited faculty training. And the third is student disengagement. So to show depth, we explain why those problems occur in technical institutes. We know that many programs were designed around lecture and standardized practicals, and assessments often reward speed and one correct method. When teachers don't have MI planning tools, they teach in the style they are comfortable with and not the style that reaches the widest range of learners, right? And so the outcome can be predictable. Students whose strengths are not being used begin to disengage, right? They would start participating less, they will have less confidence, and sometimes even withdrawal. Right, so here we on to our other slide, and we have the question, what happens if we do nothing? So this slide explains the cost of inaction, right? If the institute keeps one dominant teaching approach, results will stay uneven. The same small group will succeed while the others struggle or they're in disengagement, right? Technical education is high stakes. The learners need confidence, they need self practice, and of course, opportunities to communicate and collaborate. It's just like the workshops. So, MI integration becomes both a quality improvement strategy and an inclusion strategy. Right, so here we can see we have a proposed approach, MI driven teaching cycle. So, this is our practical framework, a four-step cycle that teachers can repeat each unit. So first um, we quickly profile learners. When we do this, we're not just doing this to label the students, but to understand the patterns and to plan support. Second, we have lesson planning becomes plural. So we have the same objectives. We have multiple activities, so different trends can access the content. And third, we have delivery is varied and active. Fourth, we have the assessment is flexible, but the rubric focuses on the same learning outcomes for everyone. So we can also recommend a pilot approach. Start with 2 or 3 programs, refine, and then scale. All right, so I will hand you over to my other colleague that's going to take us to another part of the presentation.
Good day, everyone. Today, I will be presenting our approach to integration multiple intelligences into teaching assessment and faculty development. Start with lesson 1, integration strategy. Our objective is for students to not only identify faults, but also apply safe and effective repair procedures. To achieve this, we use multiple intelligence aligned activity stations. These include visual tasks like reading diagrams, logical tasks such as decision making, checking checklists, and hands-on kinesthetic troubleshooting. We also incorporate interpersonal decisions, linguistic writing tasks, and interpersonal reflection. This approach ensures that all learners, regardless of their strength, can engage meaningfully with the content. As teacher, we guide the process through structured rotations, quick assessments, and whole class synthetic to connect learning outcomes. Moving on. Assessment for multiple intelligence. Students are given a choice in how they demonstrate their understanding. They may perform a practical task, create a visual diagram, write a procedure, present orally, or work collaboratively in teams. Despite these variable options, All students are assessed using the same criteria: accuracy, safety, reasoning, and communications. This ensures fairness while still allowing flexibility and student-centered learning. Finally, the faculty. Training plans support teachers in implementing these strategies effectively. In phase one, we build awareness and share understanding of multiple intelligence. Phase two, we focus on practice where teachers engage in micro teaching and collaborative planning. In phase three, we emphasize coaching, peer observation, and quality assurance. By the end of the process, each department will produce lesson plans and assessment tools aligned with this approach. In conclusion, this model promotes inclusive teaching, active learning, and continuous professional growth, ultimately improving student engagement and outcome. Thank you. I now hand you over to my next colleague.
Thank you, sir. So here we look at student engagement. Now, student engagement is not just fun activities. It's about how we align our lesson and the meaning that we try to portray. Now, first, we can gather our learners. We can gather a profile of them. We can give them quick surveys, diagnostic tests. We can give or receive short feedbacks from questions that we ask them to get to know what are the types of learners we're dealing with. Then secondly, we can start structure our classroom to increase motivation. We can have different things like project-based tasks. We can link it to real-world workplaces. We can have student choice, things like peer tutoring, and short challenges that keep practice active but safe. Now, as students, as learners, when they see that their strength is being recognized, they tend to participate more. They tend to be persistent in answering questions, and your lesson become a more student-centered lesson. Then we have implementation, which is known to be a plot scale. Now, the realistic rollout is that we can recommend a plot stage first, whereby we have term one, and in term two, it should be select program for trained pilot teachers. And in addition to that term one, we have MI lesson plan and flexible assessment along with data collection. On the other hand, we have term two, which expand institute right using a refined template and coaching model. Here's where you see now a little more uniformity in all of the lesson plans. We can also clarify responsibility, such as administration enables policies and time, department, head coordinated, and coaching. Teachers can also be teachers implementation, and students provide feedback to use for choices as much as possible. So here in the implementation stage, we can have firstly in term one as mentioned, we can have the teacher do it as they've been exposed to. And in term two, we give them a template so that we get a uniformity, explain to them what we need, and I now hand you over to my colleague, which will further explain.
Monitoring and evaluation. Now, as it pertains to monitoring, now this makes the plan credible. We, we propose simple KPIs with attendance, participation, practical competency scores, retention, and student satisfaction. Evidence comes from the MI lesson plans, peer observations, student portfolios, monthly review meetings as well. The key is the feedback loop. Data is collected, teachers reflect, adjustments are made, and results are checked again for every 4 weeks. Risk and mitigation. Now, some risks may include teacher resistance, time constraints for planning, limited materials or equipment, inconsistent implementation across departments, and student misuse of choice, basically avoiding hard tasks. Some mitigation may include use peer observation plus the HOD support to standardize quality, and the use of low resources, which will rotate stations and partner with industry. Now, any challenge has risk, so we must address them directly. The most common is resistance to time and pressure. We reduce that by using teacher templates, shared resources, and pilot a approach that creates quick wins. Now, resource limits can be managed with low-cost materials, station rotation, and partnership with industry for tools and guest support. Finally, to prevent misuse of choice, we set non-negotiable outcomes and minimum requirements on all options. To conclude, Grove's main issue is a mismatch. Uniform teaching methods in a setting where learners have diverse strengths. Our strategy is practical and aligned to the rubric. Integrate MI using stations and flexible assessments. Build teacher capacity through phased training and coaching. And strengthen engagement through learner profiling, meaningful projects, structured choice. We recommend starting with a term, one pilot, and then scaling based on data. Thank you for listening. What questions do you have?